Well, listen, I'm not going to keep you super long tonight, but we did want to just utilize this First Sunday environment to let you know some things that are coming, let you know some things we're going to be adding into our church, some environments and things along those lines, and wanted you to be able to hear it from me. Also, just going to let you know where we're headed in our Sunday morning series, as well as some conferences and a couple of surprises wrapped in there as well, okay? So thank you for being here tonight. Let me go ahead and pray for us. After we do this, we're going to just spend some time worshiping God. We're going to take communion together, and then we are going to call it a night, okay? All right, fantastic. God, we love you. Thank you for your grace to us. Thank you for everyone who's in this room tonight, and I do just pray that as we talk about the direction on some of these important issues that make our church what it is, that you would unite our hearts, that you would give clarity, that you would give just enjoyment around what you're doing and where we're heading. And God, we do just pray, our best laid plans, God, are always flexible to your spirit, but we do want to be good stewards of the time and the days and our space and our relationships. And so we just pray, God, that you would see fit to bless and protect and lead us. We love you, God, and we thank you and pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Yeah, come on in, y'all. Grab a seat. So let me just go ahead and start at the top here and just kind of let you know some things that are going to be coming up and give you some rationale as to why we're going to be making some changes and why I feel like it's important. And I wanted you to hear some of these things from me. So this is going to be our last First Sunday environment here in April, and I'll explain a little bit more to you why that's going to be and what it's going to be changing to. We're actually going to be moving this environment to first Wednesdays in June. So many guys have been so gracious to come out on Sunday evenings, and we talked through a number of theological issues and that kind of thing, and I'm thankful for that. But the reality of it is that Sunday night's a rough night, especially if you have kids, to try to get the day turned around. And so we're going to be moving this space to the first Wednesday of every month beginning in June. And here's the reason for that. We already have a lot of things that happen within our building and within our ministry on Wednesdays. So let me run you down through that. We do youth leagues. Right now, baseball and softball and t-ball and kid pitch ball and machine ball and all kinds of balls, right, are going on. My wife and I are actually both coaching a team, and we have practices every single night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. If there was an extra day, we would do practices on those days as well. But there are already folks, and there's ministry that's happening. And so I just want to be clear with you. Leagues is not something additional that we do out there somewhere. Leagues is ministry for us. We'll have about 600 kids and their families who will come onto our property voluntarily. And Pastor Jay and his team are doing a great job being hospitable and organizing that thing well. We got a lot of people who are involved in that and doing ministry in that way. And so we're going to move this to Wednesday nights. We also have a Spanish environment that happens every single Wednesday night. And that gets streamed and it gets sent literally all over the world. And when I got looking at the numbers, it was wild to see just how far that Wednesday night environment reaches for us. And so we're going to make sure that we continue to improve that Spanish environment, continue to invest in youth leagues. And then we have groups. And groups is not something that we're going to be stopping anytime soon. Groups is an important front door for us. Just to kind of give you a sense of where we were a year ago, we had a few hundred people that were in groups, and now we have about 1,500 people who are in groups. We've got a lot of people who are connected to groups, and it's just an easy way for people to kind of take a step either out of this environment into the opportunity to find friends, or we'll have people get connected to this environment from groups. And so we want to make sure that we continue to do that. But let me just give you 4 things that are going to be new on Thursday nights starting in June. The first is, and this is a big one. This church for a long time had a system of equipping people that we did a curriculum around. We had 16 lessons, and then we did a rewrite of that, and it was called Directions. And I want to be really clear with you. I want you to hear my heart. What I'm about to say is going to sound a little petty, but I just want to be very, very clear with you about this, okay? The Directions in the 16 lessons is not discipleship. It's a curriculum by which we disciple people. And you're like, yeah, that's semantics. It's really not semantics. Because really everything that we do here, we want to be about discipleship. And so Growth Track is discipleship. Youth Leagues is discipleship. Groups is discipleship. Dream Team is discipleship. If we have a curriculum by which we continue to equip and biblically mentor people, that isn't the definition of discipleship. Discipleship is much bigger than you sitting down with somebody and teaching them biblical lessons, as good as that is, okay? Are you tracking with me on that? And for a long time, we have called that curriculum discipleship, and we've really worked hard to try to expand that. That being the case, as we have expanded all of the other ways that we're involved, it's just become clear that is a space that we want to reinvest in. And so Pastor Jeff and I are going to be rewriting directions together over the next probably 4 to 6 months. And we are going to be reintroducing what we're just going to call Bible mentorship coming out of step 2. And so in step 1, the next step that we want people to be headed toward is we want them to become a follower of Jesus. We want them to get baptized. In step 2, we've been pointing people towards groups, and we're going to continue to point people towards groups. It's working in every possible way. But the reality of it is that for what we want to see God do through our church, plant churches, start campuses, send missionaries, that we want to, as quickly as possible, begin to biblically train people. And coming out of step 2, the value for us is that we want people to find friends. And if you went through the 16 lessons, I hear this all the time. I hear the person who took me through the 16 lessons, or the person who took me through directions, is still one of my dearest, friends. One of my dearest friends. And so it doesn't compromise our values whatsoever, and it actually layers and further emphasizes our intent to biblically train, equip, and send people. And so I sat down with Pastor Jeff when I came back from Nepal, and he wrote directions 12 years ago. And I said, if you could take another crack at directions, what would you change? And he started to talk through that. And I said, those are all great ideas. How about we do that? And so he and I are going to begin to work on that. Pastor Elisha is going to help us with that as well. And then probably in the 4th quarter of this year, we're going to start really trying to push people. Hey, we want you to find friends. Here's where you can find friends. You can get in a group. If that doesn't stress you out and that's something that you want to do and that's a good win for you right now, go get in a group. But some of you, the group things, it's intimidating to you. And some of you have this real deep desire to be biblically mentored. And if that's you, we want to make that available for you as well. And so the action step for you coming out of this first Sunday is that if you are somebody who would be interested in being a biblical mentor, I need you to email Jim Lee, JLEE @visitgraceway.org, and let him know about that. We'll kind of, as we get through those lessons and as we begin to create those lessons, we'll be training you in that regard. And then directions, I hope that you guys know this. I don't know if you do, but directions is like, it's viral internationally. I was in Nepal recently. We were doing a directions training in literally a field somewhere in Nepal, and our partner, Mark Heckman was his name, was kind of talking, and it looked like everybody was upset or not understanding. And so we got to a break, and I said to Mark, I don't know, how's it going? And he said, I don't feel like they're really understanding me. And I said, I don't think they are either. And he goes, let me talk to him. And they go out onto the front porch, and he said, is this the best how's this going? And they said, well, we understand about 40% of what you're saying. And he was like, oh, well, we're speaking Nepalese, and we're in Nepal, so we just assumed. And they said, well, we're so close to India that Hindi is a better language for us. And Mark said, oh, well, if you have a cell phone, you can go onto our website, and you can download directions in Hindi. And we have about 16 lessons 16 languages that Directions is already translated into. It's a great opportunity for us to utilize those resources and continue to help our global partners. And so for us to walk away from that doesn't make any sense at all. So Pastor Jeff and I are going to spend some time together with Pastor Elisha, not only to resource our international partners, but begin to reintroduce biblical mentorship into the ecosystem of Graceway. I know that for some of you, that is an incredibly important thing, and I want to be honoring to that with this caveat, okay? With the caveat that it's not, we stopped doing discipleship for a little while, and then we reintroduced Directions, and now we do discipleship. No. Everything that we do, we want to be about discipleship. And so if you get on the dream team, you're getting discipled. If you go through Growth Track, you're getting discipled. If you're in a small group, you're getting discipled. If you go through Directions 2.0, you're getting discipled. Nothing that we do here, we want to be disconnected from discipleship, okay? So be looking for that at probably the beginning of the fourth quarter this year. Another kind of add-in that we have been thinking about and praying about for a long time, we made some shifts to our youth environments, especially as it pertains to Sunday mornings. If you have a high schooler in particular, you come in, they kind of huddle downstairs, they get coffee and donuts. That's why they're so caffeinated and happy whenever you see them. And they can pick one of a couple places to go. They can do a small group there, they can go serve on Dream Team, or they can come up into the worship environment. And we changed that because we really wanted families going to church together, because we really wanted to align your freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors with what's happening in the adult environment. And to a large degree, that value has overridden any of the programming issues. What we have heard from you guys and what I had committed to you is that if we end up feeling like we need another value add, we're going to stick to our values, but we're willing to change our programming. If it's not working, we'll fix it. Have you heard me say that before? We are tied to our vision and values. We aren't tied to our programming. And so on Wednesday nights, we're going to be adding Graceway High School. It's going to be a high school environment. It's going to be happening at 6:30. It's going to be an age-appropriate service for Pastor Brian and his team are going to be leading that. It's going to be happening every single Wednesday. Sunday will stay as it is. Sunday is going to be, you're going to come in. We want you to get into a group. We want you to serve on Dream Team. We want you to come in to the big room and worship with everybody. That's an important value for us. I don't want you to have your high school students off only with other high school students. I want your high school students to see people who are different color than them, different age than them, worshiping in different styles than them. That's an important value for us. But we also acknowledge that they need more time together. We also acknowledge that they need age-appropriate equipping and training and worship and all of those things. And so Pastor Brian and Pastor Brandon are going to be working hard on that, and that will start June 12th. Okay, June 12th is our first Graceway High School. That'll be on a Wednesday night. Immediately following Graceway High School, we're going to start a young adults environment. And so if you are in college or nearly in college, meaning you are just outside of the college range. Now, you are not a young adult if you are 53, but you're still single, okay? We want you to get into a group. I'm not trying to steal your dreams or be demeaning to you in any way, shape, or form. But I need you to self-edit to some degree. Young adult, meaning that you're still generally young by a general definition, okay? But the reality of it is, guys, is that if I'm completely honest with you, pastorally, this is a space that we have had a hard time stewarding well. College is a difficult time. It's a transient time. We've had a lot of reasons that this has been a difficult space for us. And we're very committed to correcting that. And so if you're a college student in here, I understand that's an incredibly important time for you, and we want to help you in every way that we can. And so we're going to have an every week environment for you. So Graceway High School will happen at 6:30. Graceway Young Adults will happen at 8 o'clock. There will be all kinds of different communication going out on that, but that'll be happening every week. We want you to have time together, things to invite your friends to. But come Sunday, we all want to be together and do the same thing. Are you tracking with me? Come Sunday, I don't want you're going over there and I'm going over there and I'll see you when we're done. No, we want to worship as a family, both spiritually and biologically, but we're doing our best to create environments that serve you well. And so starting in June, first Wednesday will be on June 5th. Then our Wednesday programming will begin on June 12th. That Wednesday programming is Youth League, Spanish, small groups, high school, young adults. All of those will be happening on Wednesday. And that's essentially our summer scheduling. To be entirely 1,000,000,000% honest with you, we are just going to end up keeping it because we're believing in all of those spaces. And so if you're a high school parent, you will be getting communication from both myself and Pastor Brian. If you are a young adult, you will be getting communication from both myself and Pastor Brian around what those environments will be, how you can get connected to them. All the leadership already knows about these additions, and we're doing our best to serve you and meet your needs around that age group, okay? What questions do you have for me that need to be answered right now? Going once, gone. All right. The other thing that I want you to know is that in June, the third Wednesday will be our Dream Team training nights. And so first Wednesday, we'll all be together. Every Wednesday, Youth League, you get it. And then that third Wednesday, your Dream Team leader is going to be reaching out to you if they have training and communication for you. And so Wednesday is going to become an important night in the rhythm of our church starting in June. Again, no guilt if you're on vacation or you got things going on or whatever, but it's going to be a busy night for us. Wanted to let you know again, April 19th, Good Friday environment. Now here's the thing. I hope that you know I've worked really hard to kind of deconstruct some of these historical, traditional, Christian calendar and Christian, all of that kind of thing. I am totally hip to the idea that we've never done a Good Friday service and that it's a little bit outside of our traditions. But my heart in this, and I want you to hear this, is just that I want you to milk the Easter holiday for everything that it's worth. I don't want you to miss it. When we talk about Christmas, when we talk about Easter, when we talk about some of these important times, I feel like in our busyness and in our disconnectedness, we just miss these opportunities that I think God historically, traditionally, and even in our post-Christian culture continues to use. And so a lot of our programming is going to be to give you an opportunity to kind of evaluate and to feel those things a little bit more fully and a little bit differently. And so Good Friday, it's a 1-hour environment. It's not going to turn into 3 hours. We're going to come in, we're going to observe the cross together, and it's going to set you up for our Easter services on Sunday morning. We have 3, 8:30, 10, and 11:30. The reason that it's stacked that way is that I know that nobody wants to come to church in the afternoon, all right? And so that's a 1-hour environment. If you invite somebody, you can still make it to the buffet on time or wherever you go to get Easter ham or whatever you eat on Easter. But I want to be respectful of your time, but I need you to please listen to me. If stats are right, over 80% of people would say yes if you would invite them to Easter. Over 80%. What I'm trying to say to you is that for all of the angst that church folks have around these cultural times that we're living in a post-Christian culture and antagonism to our faith and all of that kind of thing, 3 out of 4 people would still be willing to enter a church door on Easter if somebody that they knew simply invited them to come. And so for all of our angst, I think there's some responsibility for us in the midst of it that we want to do the best that we can to create a great environment for you to invite your friends in. But the impetus for you to just be praying about, God, who do you want me to invite? I can't do that for you. I don't know your neighbors. I don't know your coworkers. I don't know anyone that you know. And the reality of it is that the missional arm of our church isn't Pastor Elisha's department. It's you. It's you. I spend almost all my time with Christians. You can pray for me. I don't have the access to people outside of faith that you do. I don't have the list that you have of people that you could be praying for. And so I don't want any guilt around this, but I do want you to feel the weight of responsibility. This is a great opportunity for you to invite somebody to whatever service. Now, here's the reality of it. If you wanted to come at 10, but the person that you wanted to invited can't come until 11:30, guess which service you're coming to? 11:30, yeah. And so I want you to be thinking about it along those lines. Something that I'm very, very, very excited about on Easter is we are going to be dropping our first album. It's really, really good, y'all. I heard it last week. Pastor Brandon finally let me listen to it. I paid for the thing, and I just finally got to hear it. No, it's really, really good. And you're going to be proud to have your church name on that. And I'll just tell you, we may or may not have some surprises for you around that album. But it's very good. And they played it for you. They played a song for you this Sunday. Did you catch that he said we wrote this song, that song? The second song today is on the album, so it's going to be a lot of fun. The next series that we're going to have coming out of Easter, I know this is a lot of information, try to hang with me here, is a series that we're calling Spring. It's just a 2-week series, kind of diving a little bit deeper into what we started today. this kind of spring cleaning, this kind of new commitments, new lean-ins, new whatever. And here's the thing that I want you to understand. Last Easter, if you remember, we do that A, B, C, D. I am a Christian. I made a decision today. I'm still thinking about it. I'm never going to do it. Do you remember that? Last year, we had 158 people check B, saying, I am making a decision to either become a Christian or recommit. 158 people. Let me just put that in context for you, friends. The average church in America is 70 people. So like 2 churches full of people got saved or recommitted their faith to Jesus last Easter on one day. I guarantee you, I promise you, I will bet you the next 30 years of my mortgage that God is going to save people on Easter. And so that spring series is just okay, now what? Now that I've heard from God, now that I have fresh wind in my sails, now that I've made a new commitment, now what? Now what do I do? So it's not going to be 4 weeks, it's going to be 2 weeks, and we're going to try to help people make some commitments, make some decisions around whatever happened on Easter. We're also going to baptize a boatload of people on those 2 days. We have in the last 2 years, the week after Easter, baptized over 100 people. And so we're going to baptize a lot of people the week after Easter, the 2 weeks after Easter, okay, that the 28th and the 5th. And so I just need you to please be praying around that. Please be praying about who God would invite you. We're really aiming a lot of different things at that. We turned 76 on April 26th, but because it's so close to Easter, we delayed our birthday, okay? And so this is like that parent that you got the kid with a birthday on an inopportune weekend and you celebrate it 3 weeks later, you know what I'm talking about? And then you got to make it extra nice so they don't feel like you're giving them leftovers. So that's what we're going to be doing here. So May 5th, we are going to have our birthday party. And so here's how it's going to work. The 21st is Easter. The 28th, we're going to do baptisms. The 5th, we're going to do baptisms, and we're going to celebrate our birthday. I just need you to plan for us to always throw a big birthday party every single time our birthday comes around. So at the end of April, we're going to party like we're 99 or it's 1999 or whatever you want to do around that. But listen to me, when churches are closing their door, 80% clip of churches who are plateaued, declining, or closing their door, another year of God's faithfulness is worth celebrating. Okay? So, yeah. And so that's going to be May 5th. We're going to have a lot of food. We're going to have a lot of stuff for your kids, similar to what we did last year. And so I want you to plan on May 5th just to stay longer. We'll get you fed, and hopefully God will give us a great day. Because the 5th is our birthday, we will not have First Sundays. Our next First Sunday goes away. Our next environment like this, that it's going to be a teaching environment, will be First Wednesdays in June. Are you with me? Yes? Okay, awesome. Thank you. Okay, let me talk to you about 2 series that we have coming up. Actually, 3 series that we have coming up. So we'll go Easter, then we'll go spring, and then we're going to do a series called How to Get Through What You're Going Through. And let me tell you why this is important to me in particular. I feel like the church has done a really terrible job when it comes to mental health. A lot of folks have a difficult time with mental health, struggling with depression, struggling with tragedy, struggling with loss, struggling with just struggling. And so how to get through what you're going through is a series that we're going to be doing on how do I deal with mental health issues, how do I deal with loss and tragedy, how do I deal with difficulty, how do I deal with real life, right? And if we can't open up the Word and just agree that sometimes we're going through things that we feel like God lost us, then if we can't do it here, where can we do it? And so coming out of that spring series, we're going to go into the How to Get Through What You're Going Through series. If you are somebody who struggles with mental health or depression, or you know somebody who does, I want this to be a church that is full of grace and full of safety and full of hope and full of a God who is persistent in love and near to the brokenhearted. Amen? And so that series, it's a 4-week series, is going to get at us kind of grappling with some of the realities that many of us live in and live with, and what does the gospel and the Holy Spirit and the Word of God have to say about that, how to get through what you're going through. During the summer, when I am in the saddle, meaning I am preaching, we are going to be going through the book of Jonah together. The title of that series is going to be Jonah and the City, because the book is not a dude who gets eaten by a whale. It just freaks us out that a dude got eaten by a whale, so that's what we talk about. The story is actually of a guy who is told to go to, care about, give the gospel to a city, and he's like, nah, I don't want to do that. I know a lot of Christians today who have been called to go to a city, and they're like, nah, I don't want to do that. And God just hadn't got you with a whale yet, okay? And so that's a mission series for us. That's how do we actually make it hard to go to hell from Kansas City? How do we actually be a part of what God's doing in our city? How do we actually love where God has called us to? And so when I'm here, I'm going to be doing the book of Jonah. We have spent the last 2 years doing a good amount of topical stuff, and I don't have an issue. I want you to understand this. My definition of expository preaching is that you start with the text, not with the idea. Does that make sense to you? And so I think that a topical series can be an expository preaching series as long as you start with the book and just say what it says, rather than, I was thinking today. Okay? That's not an expository series. And so we're going to do things like how to get through what you're going through, but we're going to spend increasingly more time in books. I like doing it. I prefer doing it. Our history is doing it. I think that God sovereignly uses it. And so when I'm here through the summer, our summer series is going to be Jonah. The other thing that I want you to know is our Summer at Graceway series. And that is that at this point, I'm bringing at least 3 guest speakers, possibly 4 guest speakers in. They are all awesome. You have heard a couple of them. You have not heard a couple of them. You will not want to miss those. Darren Patrick is going to be coming back. He did our marriage conference. Dr. P is going to be coming back. Dr. Perry, and a couple of people that if I said their names, it wouldn't mean anything to you. And so I'll be in the house, but they'll be here for our Summer at Graceway series. And I'm really looking forward to that, because this has been a church that, even though God has built us vertically, right, that we want to increasingly have a bigger family and let other voices come in and speak, and let other voices challenge us, and let other voices kind of get at the things that we have going on. And sometimes those voices are going to come in and they're going to make us feel uncomfortable. Can I give you an example? Okay, when my pastor came in and said, do you know what I hear when I hear Make America Great Again? And half the room went, and I got a bunch of emails and all that kind of thing. Listen, that's a good thing for a church to experience. Especially a church that wants to be diverse, especially a church that wants to be gladly diverse. For us to be able to handle it when somebody who doesn't think like us, talk like us, or necessarily understand like us, for them to come in and us to be glad to be challenged is an important value for us. And so we're going to increasingly have people come in who I know, who I trust, who are going to be given this platform to just let it rip for God's glory and our blessing. And so that Summer at Graceway series is going to be a lot of fun around that. Let me talk to you about our micro conferences, and then I'm going to pray and we're going to worship. I'll give you an opportunity to ask any questions if you need to, but not too many, because I want to get you out of here on time. Our next micro conference is a women's conference that is going to be happening in June. All of the planning that has gone on around that, there's a lot of ladies involved in that. The guys have been banned. We have no voice. We have no way to be able to make it. No, it's going to be really, really good. Ladies, we don't want you to plan the men's conference, so we're not going to try to plan your conference. But please do understand the value in this, guys. I personally, I believe that God gifts and calls both genders. Okay? And so we want the ladies to have a lot of opportunity to lead and speak and worship together and have a voice and enjoy company. And so that women's conference is going to be the first of many opportunities. We got a lot of great women leaders in this church. Amen? Okay. Y'all, why did it look like that made y'all nervous, what I just said? Are we good? Okay, I'm glad both of you are good. So that women's conference is going to be a lot of fun. If you are familiar with the IF Gathering, that's what we're going to be hosting. You can Google that, and that's going to be really good. In August, we're going to have a men's conference. That's probably going to involve a lot of testosterone and some violence, okay? But I'm really excited about that. But again, it's just an opportunity for us to get together, find friendship, and get into groups out of that. The two things that you don't know about that I wanted to let you know about is in January of 2020, we're going to do a parenting conference. It looks like we're going to be bringing in a guy by the name of Kirk Martin. He runs an organization called Celebrate Calm, probably the most helpful parenting thought leader that I have heard when it comes to strong-willed children. Does anyone in here have strong-willed children? Okay, if you don't, you think you're a better parent than you actually are, all right? But we're talking to him right now. You can Google him. I'm very, very excited about that. And then next summer, this is a church that for years and years and years, we had an enormous missions conference. And we've been kind of building out this micro-conference model. And so we are going to do a micro-conference +1 next summer and do our missions conference again. We have 3 missionaries who are going to be coming in. It'll be Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night. And then Sunday morning, we'll do a big blowout. Those 3 missionaries are Pastor Ashti, who's in Iraq right now, Pastor Patrice, who's in France, and Pastor Jacob, who's in Armenia. They're going to be speaking those 3 nights. And then we're going to have like food trucks with Middle Eastern food and French food and all that kind of thing. We're going to have a lot of fun on that. But this has been a church that for years has been deeply connected and involved in what God is doing all over the globe. And to some degree, some of the places that we've been ministering, because there's security concerns, it has a little bit separated the body from what we're doing. And so my heart is to introduce you to some of those leaders who God's using in incredible ways to encourage you, so that you can pray for them, so you can know them, so that they're not a name on the wall. They're somebody that you got to spend time with, share a meal with. And so next summer, that will become an annual thing for us, that we'll have a missions conference in which we'll have our key partners come in and speak, and I hope that you'll be excited about that. Okay? Other than that, nothing really going on. What questions do you have for me? I said I wasn't going to do Q&A, but I want you to feel like you have a opportunity. I was so comprehensive and spirit-filled, you just feel agreement and clarity and excitement. Okay. Hey, Pastor Tim here. I hope that you enjoyed our service. If it was a blessing to you or God spoke to you, I hope that you'll let us know. Shoot us an email at amen@visitgraceway.org. We would love to hear what God's doing in your life and how we might be able to help you in it. If you'd like to support our ministry, you can support us by giving right there. And if you live in the Kansas City area, I hope that you'll stop by and give us a visit. We'd love to shake your hand, buy you a cup of coffee, worship Jesus together. Let us know how we can be of help to you, and I hope to see you soon.